Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Dimitri. I'm going to show you how to create a table in SQL Server. So let's start by creating this table in this database. It's going to be called Big Bang 100. So I'm going to use our Big Bang 100 database, and then I'm going to create my table. So I'm going to tell SQL Server to create a table, create table, and then I'm going to assign a name. So let's call this services, and then I'm going to have to tell a SQL service to create the columns for me. So I want a service ID. That's going to be my first column, and this column is going to be an integer, and I want this column to be my unique identifier. So I want this system to generate our ID. How do I do that? So I'm going to use the identity statement, and I'm going to say, hey, I want these codes to start from 10, and I want them to count these codes one by one. So I'm gonna have 10 and then 11 and then 12. That's how it's gonna work. So this is my first column. Then my second column is gonna be service name. So I'm going to call this service name, and I want that to be a varchar 15. Okay, and my third column is gonna be, let's say, bank. Okay, let's say annual fee. Annual fee. That's gonna be also an integer. And those are basically the three columns that I want to create for my services table. So if I run this query, it should create a table. So it says commands completed. So let's just go and check the table. So I'm going to check the use Big Bang 100 database, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to select everything from my table services. So it should be created by now. So you can also refresh the database here. So Big Bang 100, then right click on it, and then you can just refresh it. And if you go to tables, the services table is gonna be here. So let's just run this query real quick. So if I execute the query, you'll see that the table was created already. So I got the service ID, the name, and the annual fee. So what I want to do now is to populate this table. So if I want to populate this table, I'll have to use my database, okay, and then I'm going to insert into my table, which is called services, right? Services. And then I have to mention the columns. So I open a parenthesis, and my first column is service ID. But I'm not going to insert this service ID because the system is going to generate this ID for me, okay? So that's gonna be automatic. So I'm going to start with service name. So service name, okay? And then my next column is gonna be annual fee. So that's the first step, okay? You have to mention the columns. And then when you want to insert values, so you type values, and then you insert the values. So I want a service name. So let's call this first service name credit card, for example. So credit card. And that's gonna have an annual fee, which is going to be my second column, which is really my third. And I'm just gonna type 50. Okay, perfect. So this should generate one row, but I want, let's say, 2 or 3 different products. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to insert into this table with these 2 columns another service name, for example. So I'm going to call this debit card. I'm gonna say this is gonna be $70 a month, for example. That's just an example. And then let's just paste this again, and I'm going to have this checking account. So I misspelled this on purpose because I'm going to create a different video about how to change this, how to update the table. Okay, so checking account, and this is gonna be, let's say, $100. Okay, so that's the way we populate our database. Let's just run this and let's see if it works. So use, insert into, then I have the values, insert into, and we have another value here, debit card 70, and then we have a third value, checking account $100. So if I run this query, it says that 3 rows were affected. So let's just check the data, the whole table. Let's just run this query, and then you have credit card, debit card, and checking account. So we just created 3 different values with IDs 10, 11, 12, and it's counting one by one. So that's perfectly fine. So that's how you guys create tables and populate tables in SQL Server. I hope you guys like the video, and I'll see you in the next video.